Went to Harbor Freight and just got something new. A cheap titanium TIG 200. Actually, it seems to be rated pretty good for an entry level, you know, hobby grade, you know, TIG welder. I've had this Millermatic 120 volts, the biggest 120 volt one you could get. And I have it on it's got gas shielding. So I've had this thing for 15, 16, no, sorry, more than that. I got it before I moved down here. So I moved down here in 2001. So I got this in like 2000 or something. So it's 24 years old. Wow, I've had this for 24 years. And then I've got this cheap, you know, Cut 50 from eBay. Shoot, what about that? Like 10 years ago or something? Maybe before that. Cheap plasma cutter. Still working. Just got to be careful not to break the porcelain tips. So, still got those, but, you know, you can only do so much with the, you know, wire feed. So I've been always wanting something that I can weld more precise stuff, you know, and that could do aluminum for like when I'm going to want to do some intake piping for the next turbo project when we get around to it on that Ford Ranger. And it definitely needs a turbo, being the little 2.3 liter Mazda 4-cylinder in there. It's got 240,000 miles on it, so it's ripe for putting a turbo on, I think. This one does come with a foot pedal. It says it does, in the torch. They had like a multi-use one there, but it actually did not come with any of this stuff. And I already got a wire feed, so I was like, what the heck? So anyway, I'm gonna unbox this thing. Hopefully it works out. So I just got done testing it out. I tried it last night. I just have to admit, I tried it last night on the CO2. And it was weird. It kind of like started welding right away, but then it was shit. And I was like, so I started looking. I go, yeah, I kind of thought you had to use like some more of argon. Well, ain't that the truth? I guess you pretty much you want 100% argon, I guess. So I just brought some home. Still got the CO2 on that one until it runs out. So I just tried to weld two like old things, man, right? So I just took the grinding wheel, took some old like bed frame, put it on the DC setting, and come on, that was the first weld. A lot of that's just fusing it together, but I did add filler rod in there. You know, it's not nickels and dime shit, but actually that would totally work for you know, turbo flanges and stuff. It's only going to get better. And then I just took this old piece of aluminum I had laying down there in this Carrier Eco Blue, you know, and just stuck it with the aluminum, put it on AC, and it did it no problem. Looks a little shiny right there, but this is all dirty, you know, it's going to look like shit. So I should probably try to maybe clean up two pieces and put it together. But on the last little weld there, it did take a little more on the aluminum. Of course, aluminum dissipates heat so fast that with this peg cranked up to the 110, it's most the amperage it'll give me on the 110 volt plug-in. I just have a little adapter that came with it plugged into the 110 over there, and it tripped the breaker. Okay, next test. I just picked 2 bolts out of this old bin of car parts. I just hit it with the wire wheel, which is not that great, just to get all the grease off of it. I'm just going to stick this here and see what happens. I'll just go like this. That's what I'll do. So I'm going to tack it and then see what it's like to weld it by tacking, holding it in place, and then doing the rest with some filler. See kind of how it works on old crap steel, because that's what you wind up doing a lot. Well, that tack was super easy. It's stuck on there. So now I'm going to go back over this whole side with some filler rod. Maybe try to turn it down a little bit, do a little slower. I don't have to do this one again. I had the one tip in there, it started out kind of wide. And then I changed it to the smaller one and kind of just laid it right there in the middle. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. Got 2 more bolts out of that. It actually looks like torque converter bolts, probably. Again, I did not use the grinding wheel on these old things. I just hit it with the wire brush. There's all sorts of defects in there. That's a good test for welding old shit car parts. Just a quick little tack. I didn't even use the gloves, but I will be for the next part. So that'll work for welding together old steel and stuff. I mean, it's actually welding really easy, so no longer worried about it. It's this old steel shit. we've been making, you know, like before, intake tubes, exhaust tubes, maybe some little, put on my O2 sensor bungs. I'll probably be putting one on real soon, so I can go ahead and hook the O2, so I'll go ahead and hook the wideband up on that thing, just to have it on there, make sure the wideband's working and everything, kind of see how it's working before I modify the engine. So I'll be adding one of those real soon. A couple hours later, I went and made myself an adapter, so I can use my twist lock. And then you can turn this sucker all up to 200 amps. I was just running at 130, which is higher than it would go before, 110 input. Got an AC, and it was like easily cooking the crap out of this aluminum here. And it's not perfect, a lot of impurities, but it's, you know, I just wire brushed it and used all used parts. I mean, it welded pretty freaking good, really. So I get like new intake pipe and stuff. Should be able to turn this sucker down and weld that sucker up. Make some aluminum brackets now, which I've been wanting to do for some stuff. Everything cool. Oh, one negative thing happened to the brand new TIG welder from Harbor Freight. People said to change out the regulator. Well, already this one right here, the high pressure, to tell you what the tank is, already leaking. Is what it was doing. Like, what? So I got the old one with the old banged up gauges kind of I've been using on the Miller. Okay. Ground down a piece of steel right here. It's pretty thick steel. And then I just took another one of those torque converter bolts, it looks like. Could be flex plate flywheel bolts. That's probably what this is, actually. Flywheel bolts. And I just hit it with a wire brush just on the sides here. It's not perfect. It's going to have impurities again, but we'll see how it works. To kind of simulate welding new stuff to old stuff. Just hit a little quick spot weld with it. That's with no filler. That's just making the torch to melt the steel, and that bolt, you can see it took a little bit of metal out, but kind of floated down just to tack weld it. Now I'm going to try to practice filling around it. Smoky! Well, may not be something you know charge money for, but for having this thing for less than 24 hours, I mean, that's definitely going to work to weld my parts together. On the Ranger, you can see that's where I started and then came around and stopped again. This is where I tack welded it and went over it, but once I kind of got over here, I started getting the hang of it, adding the filler a little more. So that ain't going anywhere. I guarantee I could take the sledgehammer, not even come close to breaking that. In fact, I'm going to go get the sledgehammer and take some wax on it. I whacked on it for a minute, and it seems fine, but this popped apart. Hopefully the threads were just kind of out a little bit or something. If not, I might have to chase this thing. But yeah, that is pretty cool. Alright, still farting around with the aluminum again now. I just now wire brushed the shit out of this spot, but over here I didn't really have it that cleaned up. Changed tips, that really foobarred. And foobar, yeah, this is part of the old foobar, but then I changed to a smaller tip, and it's starting to get it focus. But almost looks like a cold weld right there though. But now I just wire brush this quite a bit more. I mean, this is shitty fucking dirty aluminum right here, so I'm gonna try to hit this spot right here and see if it does any better. Well, it looks like you probably do have to practice with the material and some different methods. So some of this I got to kind of weld. Some holes there. I actually filled over some holes here. I fixed some of this part that had a bunch of holes in it, kinda. I mean, I guess if it was intake pipe, it would kinda be sealed there. I didn't. I used most of a stick right there to fill the holes, so it ran out. Or I was trying to go all the way over to where I was, but it needed a lot of practice to get anywhere near perfect. Anyway, that's gonna do it for the night. I'll be out here forever. Not too bad for a cheap Harbor Freight welder. I mean, $900 cheap. But for TIG, evidently that's one of the most inexpensive, you know, best bang for the buck. Oh, speaking of bucks, always got to remember to turn the gas off. Or $40 tank of gas is gone. So anyway, with that, I'll catch you guys later, man.